There was this article that caught my attention. Princess Diana is the most attractive royal of all time according to the ancient Greek golden ratio formula. But even if it's fun comparing faces on a most attractive ranking, this points a flaw in our concepts of beauty and of course how we perceive and value ourselves. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and it would be great if you join us by just liking this video, subscribing and hitting that bell. Let's get down to it. The ranking of this article puts Diana first, then Queen Rania of Jordan second, Grace of Monaco third, Meghan in fourth place, and Catherine in the fifth. And every image has got conveniently incomprehensible numbers and percentages just to make them look more interesting. But before we continue, I'm going to ask you to do a very easy exercise. Easy on the eyes, if I might say. You're going to take a look at Henry Cavill, Robert Pattinson, and Idris Elba. That's it. You just have to take a look at them. Now, what's with all these numbers and rankings, and why are they important for our self-perception and confidence? Well, defining what is attractive or what is beautiful can be really elusive because quantifying beauty is no easy task. The system proposed in this study is based on the golden ratio that I've already mentioned a few times when we have taken a look at photographs and paintings. The best example that you can get to illustrate this concept is simply dividing one rectangle so that the proportion of the larger section to the complete figure is the same proportion of the small section to the large section. A more practical way to experience the golden ratio is having two squares side by side and draw a point at the geometric center of one, but the other resting on a golden ratio section. The second one will be more pleasing to the eye, more balanced, so to speak. You might have the idea that this goes back to ancient Greece, or this is somehow related to Leonardo. The other Leonardo da Vinci. And yes, Da Vinci was the illustrator of the Luca Pacioli book on divine proportions. An extremely boring book, unless you're heavily into math and geometry, that somehow connects the golden ratio with ideal face and body features. Just for reference, in over 300 pages of polyhedrons and diagrams, there are just two illustrations that barely resemble a disembodied human head. That's it. The story of why we became so obsessed with the golden ratio is really interesting and includes both an eccentric German psychologist who kept seeing it everywhere, including his sauerkraut, and Donald Duck, who mistakenly planted the seed of the modern golden ratio myth. But for the sake of brevity, we just have to remember that humans really excel at something, taking things to the extreme, even if it means sacrificing common sense. That's why we have Bigfoot races, skyscrapers, and mukbang. So golden ratio could not be different, and someone with a lot of time on their hands figured out that if you made enough measures of the human face and divided it enough times according to these divine proportions, you could come up with some sort of ideal archetypes of beauty. Too bad that those archetypes look like very angry, low-polygon, anonymous masks. What are these rankings based on? Well, there is software used mainly by plastic surgeons that help measure any deviations of a person's face from the supposed ideal. So the closer a person's facial features are to the golden ratio template, there's the assumption that they are more attractive. And I know that you're starting to see the flaw in that reasoning, and that's why I wanted you to see the pictures of Pattinson, Cavill, and Elba. According to these rankings, Pattinson will be the most attractive man in the world, since his features fit best the golden ratio mask. Cavill would be a close second, and Elba is number 8. And I can read your mind. You want to know how Bradley Cooper and Brad Pitt did on this test, right? Well, they are 3rd and 4th place, respectively. But it's not like you actually agree with the ranking or take it seriously, but you were really curious to know about the order. And that's because how our mind works. No matter what we stumble upon, we will always try to make sense of it. Either organize it or put it in certain categories so we can retrieve the information later. Our brain needs to do that so it can work more efficiently and in turn be able to combat uncertainty. Now, a ranking of beauty sounds fun, but that's it, especially when you already know that the template used for those measurements really doesn't make sense, because if we generate a face based exactly on such proportions, we get Alien Kardashian. Yes, if I had to see it, you will see it too. That is like 2030 Kylie Jenner. But the fun ends when we enter the mix and somehow our brain logic just jumps out the window. Because most people, especially women, have a hard time not comparing themselves to others. And this is a very unhealthy situation for your sanity, because any insecurity about your own features will be amplified when you dare to compare yourself to ultra-modified Photoshop standards. And I know that you're gonna tell me that you know that whatever you see on Instagram is not real. You know it consciously. Your rational mind is 100% aware of it. But it doesn't solve the fact that you can feel insecure from time to time about your appearance, and if you don't keep those feelings in check, it can lead to anxiety, depression, or eating disorders. Let's use this image of very cute puppies to clear up your mind now. There's one reason most people are not going to have any problem with Diana being number one in that most attractive royal ranking. And it's because of her character and how she earned the Queen of Hearts name. She had flaws like everyone else, but she made up for them with her service. And that's another angle that we use to assess her in that ranking, even if it doesn't have to do anything with physical beauty. By the way, you know which woman is one of the most beautiful in the world according to the Golden Ratio Angry Mask? Amber Heard, which proves that you can be beautiful on the outside and at the same time crazy as fuck on the inside. What we are missing is that sometimes it doesn't make sense to think that one person is objectively more beautiful than the other. And to prove this point, you can vote in the comments. Who would you prefer dating, Henry Cavill or Bradley Cooper? And no, you cannot choose all of the above. The concept of beauty is closely related to our self-perception. But the problem is that if we dare to compare ourselves to other people, we will always be losing. Especially when we lose track of everything else. Charisma, character, attitude, self-acceptance. There's so many factors that affect our body language, and that's way more important than trying to fit inside a standard. Because, let's face it, nobody really wants to fit in the standard, because that would mean that we're all pretty much alike and we would not have all the differences that make us unique. There's also a great saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Maybe you're not Amber Heard, and I'm glad you're not, but there's no doubt you are attractive in your own way, and not just to one person, but to many people around the world. And I'm not saying this to stroke your ego. I'm saying this because it's a statistical reality. But you will not be able to see that reality unless you realize that there are so many things beyond appearance that can make you attractive. And the most important of all is being confident of who you are. That is not something you have to achieve. That is something that you already are. You just have to stop burying it under loads of insecurity. Maybe you know it, but somehow you forgot it along the way. Well, there's no better time to refresh that belief than now. If you want to refine your observation skills, all you have to do is download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas, and it will always be a pleasure, my body language buddies. Much love and bliss.